In today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to avoid disappointment with half double crochet and missing the edge. Every time that I do a half double crochet going across, I have been crocheting since I was a teenager. I'm now 50 years old. I still get it wrong and I still miss a stitch every time. So what I do for myself is that I change the rules of a pattern if it states that the chain 2 counts as a half double crochet. So if I do chain 2 counts as a half double crochet, that is the first stitch. So my next stitch here is technically a half double crochet. For myself, see how it pulls that into there? I misidentify that every time that I go back and forth of doing that. So what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna go across and then I'm gonna come back and I'm going to show you, and do you see how it's pulling in like that? Terrible, right? So when I'm getting closer, I technically have 3 stitches left. But when you do a big afghan, sometimes, see where I am? I technically have 2 stitches left, but I feel like I just have only 1 because I'm going into the top of the next half double crochet and like, oh, that looks good. I'm gonna turn my work, and technically I still have a chain 2 to work with before I can turn. And what this is doing, see this space? Yep, that's what happens. So chain 2 counts as a stitch, starting the next one going across. So I end up with these really nasty looking holes. I said holes, right? So I end up with these holes in the project in the end, and it's really not the fault of the crocheter. It's not your fault. It's the stitch work itself. And so as I'm working my way through watching television, I misidentified that I have 2 stitches left. So I go in here and I say, oh, that looks good, and I turn my work early, and therefore I'm missing a stitch, and you will notice it pretty quickly. So then I have to go in here and look what that's doing, opening up a hole. So you end up with these holes on the edges. So how you can avoid this is that we're gonna frog it all the way back out, and I'm going to show you what I do for a cheating technique, which is my preference, and to avoid that drama. Welcome to my channel, and I'm here to inspire you, give you crochet advice, and help you along with your next project. If you enjoyed this pattern, please give me a thumbs up or even comment so I can gauge your interest. It helps me to know what to film next. So the pattern's telling me chain 2 counts as a stitch and then you're gonna half double crochet across. Okay, then I'm not gonna do that because I know I'm gonna screw up. So why would I do something that I know I'm gonna screw up on? So what I like to do for myself is that I like to make sure that the first stitch is technically a half double crochet. So you have 2 choices. You can either chain 1 and then half double crochet into this, or chain 2 and then half double crochet into that. Chain 1 will probably look a little bit sharper. Okay, so just chain 1 only, that doesn't count as anything, and you're going to half double crochet in the first stitch. So technically we would have been jumping to the second one over if we would count the chain 2 or chain 1 as a stitch. And you can already see that it just filled that space in beautifully, and I'm gonna half double crochet myself across. So I'm gonna turn my work and I'm gonna do the exact same thing. See how it looks full? So I'm gonna just chain 1, doesn't count as anything, and I'm gonna half double crochet into the very first stitch. So that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And then I'm gonna go all the way across. Boop, 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 boop. And this is where people screw up on their accounts, especially new crocheters, because they have no idea what's coming at them, right? And so even for me crocheting since I was a kid, I still screwed up. So when I get all the way across, right where I am right here, this is the top of the stitch. It's obvious, right? Because you put that chain 1 in there and it creates that little bit of a step. Then you're like, yeah, there is a stitch there, and you can continue to put in your last thing, and look, there's no unsightly gaps. So when you turn your work, chain 1, 1 half double crochet in the first, and look at that, you're getting a beautiful looking edge without those unsightly holes. Some people like holes. I'm not one of them unless it's planned. Okay, so that is a neat way, and you will find that your half double crochet will be straight on up instead of having these holes in the side of your edges. So you come over and you got one stitch left. You can kind of see it, right? You got that space, that gapping, it's like a step, and you go in the top of that stitch which looks like a step, half double crochet, you turn, and you have work that is more consistent by just changing the rules when something is not working for you. So this is the half double crochet with a little bit of a change so that you end up with the right stitch counts each and every time.